there's a lot in the book about the fallout on the debate on either side and how bad it was. I want you guys to just quickly talk about that because I still have a ton of stuff I want to talk about before we turn to these guys. But so this debate happens. What was Trump's reaction to how it was going, and what was Biden's reaction after it was over? Anyone take it?
Yeah, I was struck by what Trump said when he walked off. He kept calling it sad. You know, that when he was on stage, he was kind of like making fun of Biden. Like there's at one point he says, I don't even know what he said. But there seemed to be, he seemed to interact with it differently in private. You know, maybe thinking about his own mortality, repeatedly calling it sad. And then he very quickly turned on his advisors as it became clear that the Democrats might pull Biden, which they had assured him would not happen. And that really sent him into a funk for August. I think the lowest of the low was that night that his plane broke and he called you from the airport. And you know, he felt like...
Not a nice chat.
He felt like, you know, that he had won, this was supposed to be over, now he had to start over against an opponent he didn't respect. And he kept saying it was so unfair. And he came very close to blowing it all up because he was so mad. It was almost the 2016 Trump again.
On the Biden side, I mean, it was a remarkable bubble. Like I was actually, by chance, happened to be the print pool reporter for that trip. So I was on Air Force One. I flew from Joint Base Andrews to Atlanta, like went to the debate hall with him, came out of it, went to North Carolina, went to New York, went to the Hamptons, and then dropped him off at Camp David where he met his family, where people thought it was a family crisis meeting, and it was really a photo shoot with Annie Leibovitz. But what was remarkable about that time period was like, it was as if nothing really had happened. I mean, I remember we were in New York City, there was like a Stonewall anniversary event, and we're like standing in the middle of Greenwich Village, and like the New York Times editorial board has called for him to drop out. Thomas Friedman has called for him to drop out. Like all these people are melting down, and the aides are like, concerned, but mostly like fine. And there's a scene in the book where Biden is flying to East Hampton to go to a fundraiser, and he's sitting at this table in the Air Force One, and he asks aides, like, what's happening? How's it going? And they're all like, you know, it's okay, you know, another thing to get through. And someone overhears the conversation. It's like, what is going on? Like the party is melting down. And for Biden, it's as if it's just, you know, another hiccup.
But one of the things I think that's an important takeaway from the book is how other people who were melting down were not actually getting to Biden, and sort of efforts put together by his top aides to block his pollsters from meeting with him, to keep U.S. senators from talking to him on some occasions. I mean, Tyler did a lot of his reporting, and I think it's pretty wild reporting if you look at the protection efforts that went around. There was sort of not, it's not like, oh, they didn't want the public to see Biden. It was that they didn't want people who would bring bad news to get in front of Biden. And I mean, including, you know, can you imagine a campaign's pollsters who do all the polls for the campaign never meeting with a candidate? And they present the polls to senior White House aides, and the aides say, your job is to give us a reason how we can win. It's not to tell us the truth. I mean, that's in the book. I mean, that's pretty remarkable.
Well, I mean, actually, a related point, and I want to talk about Butler in a second, but we've all written stories about, you know, similar behavior with Trump in 2020 and in 2016. I guess you know, President Biden doesn't watch as much cable television as Donald Trump, but he sure watches a lot. And so how does somebody who watches that much cable television not realize he has a problem? I
mean, it's not that he didn't know he didn't have a problem, but if you watch that interview he does with George Stephanopoulos, George says to him, like, basically you can't win, the polling shows you're unpopular, and Joe Biden says, that's not what I'm seeing. And we have reporting in the book that the pollsters watch that clip and freak out because they're worried that their professional reputations are on the line, because if Joe Biden is saying that the public polling is not right, and they have different polls, like the pollsters are like, well, what do people think we're giving him? And that's not the case. The case is he is being spun by his advisors. I am still getting text messages from senior Biden officials with polls from July 2024 making the case to me now, to this day, that they could have won. The polls all show Joe Biden.
What? I'm sorry.
Yes. I have received unsolicited text messages from senior Biden officials since this book has come out with polling from July 2024 that shows Joe Biden trailing by 2 points. Now, their argument is he could have won, but if you ask anyone that worked on the campaign, if you're trailing by 2 points nationally, you're trailing by a lot more in the battleground states, and national polls don't matter in electoral college.
Well, I mean, also, hasn't David Plouffe said openly that there were no polls with him winning internally? I mean, or is it Harris that he said that?
Yeah, I mean, that's Harris. But
Okay.
if you talk to the pollsters on the campaign, I mean, we have this remarkable scene in the book that Josh was referencing where they were supposed to meet with Biden. They never did, so they give a presentation to Biden's senior aides, and the thesis is, you can't win. Not even like the battleground states are a problem, but places like Minnesota, Virginia, New Mexico, reliably Democratic states. And so there was no evidence that, from an empirical standpoint, that Joe Biden could win at that stage. But he and his aides and Hunter Biden still believe that.